Christmas to New Year, and it's like, where did January go? But on the other hand, it's given me a bit of time to put together some really cool stuff. So I thought for the start of the year, let's have a look at UX. And UX is kind of one of these things where people look at it as a mystic black art of whatever. They think it's one thing, or they might think it's another. But it's really how does UX help your business? And it's something that anything from sole traders to massive corporate enterprise can actually take a lot of benefit for it. So I thought start off Feb with something really cool that hopefully it's going to deliver some value. I'll go to my next slide. So UX in the very simplest terms is user experience. So it's the idea of creating the end-to-end experience. So understanding what your user is doing within your environment and that kind of edges off to creating the right interactions, understanding what your user wants to do, what the ideal customer looks like, what are some of the challenges and goals and behaviors that you see within the ecosystem. So it's about explaining that desirability and getting a any sort of user or customer to where they need to go. So in the simplest sense, like a UX designer is a little bit like a marriage counselor. So we sit between business and we sit between the customer. So the business has what they want to do, and then on the other side is the customer has what they want to do. They don't always align. That's where UX comes into it and really kind of explains what both sides want to do and align those visions and goals. So it's in one part of it, it's about alignment, and the other part about it, it's reducing a lot of risks on costs of what you're actually delivering to a customer, and is it valuable? So answering the why question. So if you're creating an app for a business, it's explaining the why and what you need to develop for customers to actually get really sticky on it. So, I mean, basically, good UX increases conversion and also create and increases the value for the brand. I also like to think of like UX as a bit of a an iceberg. So you've got the tip up the top, which is really like the visual design. And then underneath, it's the deep understanding. So, what a good UX designer does and what a good UX team tends to do is understand those behaviors that make a brand successful. So, this is getting a lot of feedback. I don't look at feedback from users as good or bad. I look at it as this is the recipe to make your brand very, very successful. So, a user isn't telling you that it's bad. What they're saying is that I want to do this, and either your brand does it or not. So what they're doing is de-risking what you're doing to actually deliver a valuable outcome. And part of it, what we do is we capture a lot of these ideas in, usability and features and interaction models, but we also look at the types of data. So we look at the qual and quant side. So we look at anything from Google Analytics to actual one-on-one like user interviews. So we're looking from top down and bottom up. So we could either start with a very big research question, or you could start with there's a hole within your conversion flow with from Google Analytics is a massive drop off. So it's us finding out why those reasons are and then working out a way to make it really valuable for a user or any customer integrating with your brand. So a lot of it is based in what you call grounded theory. So it's a lot of research and a lot of understanding what they're doing. So it's not just designing a really pretty interface, which this is probably one of my favorite examples of um, like what UX does. So if anyone's watched Pulp Fiction, everyone loves Winston Wolfe. He comes in and fixes problems. UX in essence is a Winston Wolfe to business. They have a problem and we work it out either with qualitative data, quantitative data, going out and talking to different business stakeholders, technical, to understand, here's a business idea. Can we actually deliver it? Is it too expensive to actually do? Does a user actually want this? So it's reducing those risks and pain points. So what you're actually doing is de-risking yourself and creating a lot higher value for what you're actually delivering.
Yeah.
So, parts of it is like I've had projects where people have wanted to buy a $2 million e-commerce solution, and when they've gone out to do the research, they've realized customers really don't want that.
Mm,
So it's a massive cost saving as well.
yeah, it would be because once like it's all beautiful and wonderful to have this idea, but if it hasn't been like tested, then yeah, God, it can just cost so much money, and then having to go back and rework it, a huge
It
risk.
it is. It is, and it's the best way to explain it. So, UX is like getting a taxi. Now, there's a difference to saying that I want to go to 123 Fake Street or can you drive me home? If you say to a taxi driver and get in there and go, "Oh, just drive me to my home," taxi driver's not going to know that. What it's doing is it's giving you the recipe for the destination.
Yeah, the
And
navigation
it
system.
exactly.
Yeah,
And it's like it's also giving you the idea up front of what the costs are for a project.
yeah,
So, getting a taxi from Sydney to Penrith is not the same as getting a taxi from Sydney to um, Maroubra. It's a cost is very different, but technically they could be the same thing going to home. We
yeah,
untangle that. And it's really about creating value and reducing those risks.
yeah.
Yeah, and I love this. I always think of it more, everyone just goes, "Oh, UX, it's just, creating apps and all that." Not really. It's far more than that. There's a lot of work that goes into the design. This is a rather old project, but again, it's more than just the icing on the cake. It's the entire cake. And if we have a look at it, it's about framing the problem first by speaking to users, understanding what their pain points are, their journeys are, their gain points, and also understanding what a business is actually willing to commit to on a solution. So it's really understanding those behaviors and those risks, which is super important because it's like if you're investing, a lot of money on an app or on a website, you do want a return of value for it.
Mm,
It's, you're investing something in there, you want something back.
yeah,
What UX does is we actually look at what the problem statement is, understand the outcomes, and try and align some goals to that are pragmatic to actually deliver.
yeah,
So we do that through workshops, talking to customers, talking to different stakeholders. And it's really about framing the problem. And so understanding what you're actually delivering. And it's the key problem that I've noticed with a lot of businesses is that they have a design problem. They go, "Oh, we need a social media campaign or we need a new website." And they actually don't understand what the customer wants to use. So they miss that part of the conversation. And
mhm,
then they spend a lot of money actually trying to fix it after launch, which is
mm,
you're effectively spending good money twice and you're
yeah,
reducing your ROI
yeah,
significantly.
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, it's just really the summary of that expression, sending good money after bad, right?
Oh, it actually is, and it's one of those things that a lot of the times it's reducing um that risk profile and creating the clarity that you need to actually deliver something that's of value. And we're talking value from what a customer needs to do and really who is the customer.
Yeah.
versus what can the company actually spend on it. So
Yeah,
you might have a, a whole heap of cash to make an awesome website, but it doesn't guarantee that you're actually going to make anything out of it. It's
yeah,
like getting in a taxi and say drive home,
yeah,
opposed to actually understanding what the problem is and how to actually get there.
yeah,
And I really love this value proposition canvas. It's something that explains this idea very simply. So the customer's on one side, your business is on the other. And what good UX does is explains both of these. So for a customer, and this is kind of 101 of UX, we look at what type of behaviors and activities a customer is doing within your ecosystem. So
yeah,
we understand they've got to do this, 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 and this.
yeah,
We also break those behaviors down a little bit further. So this is a little bit of a psychology hat on. We understand what their gain and pain points are.
yeah,
So if you think about it, so gain and pains, one's a chocolate, one's a Panadol.
yeah,
So a gain point is your chocolate. That's the stuff that makes the experience really cool. There's the pain points, and what you have for pain, you have a Panadol. Um, so good examples of it is think of photo libraries like Google Photos, is that it organizes everything for me. The more I use it, the u more useful it becomes. It becomes very much a gain point of like um, efficiently organizing a whole heap of images.
yeah,
The pain point it takes out is that annoying thing where I've got to tag everything, or I've got to find somewhere to put it, or if I lose my phone, where do I find it? So that's a significant pain point for the user. The user's still taking photos, but this is addressing those kind of gain points and kind of bearing them into um, an ecosystem. And from a business point of view, and when you think of from a product, so the activity might be the user wants to take photos. The product that you've got is you've got your phone and you've also got your platform where they can put the images. So what you're doing is you're aligning what your product is to what your customer actually wants to do, which is a hugely important thing for reducing those risks.
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Uh, and it's kind of the stuff that we we do all the time. It's like
Yeah,
understanding what the problem statement is and
yeah.
just aligning those, which
And
it's
why it's a problem.
exactly.
Because I think when we were having, we were in one of our meetings recently and we were just talking about like that misalignment of where one of the customers added on a charge for a particular source or something, and they saw the transaction value and their, I suppose, their turnover reduced significantly, and they had that misconception about, oh, it's because of this, but actually it was just that one little friction point where people just sort of went, I'm not doing that. So it was that really that understanding about that behavior that that is the key point in the de-risking, using something like user experience design to fortify your business, your product, and your offerings.
Oh, absolutely. And it's kind of you basically put it into the second point really well. It's really understanding the interaction within a system or brand. It's like understanding that there's the detail within those friction points. And it's something that is as simple as, and I've worked on a couple of um, research products where they've said cafe, they've lost a lot of SPA, which is spend per admit. Couldn't work out why. And the research came out was that they would sell a lot of pies to the tradies. And what they did was they decided to start charging for sauce.
Mm,
And for the cost of, one of the big sauce containers from Costco, they were basically killing their spend and customer loyalty by a lot. And it's literally all they needed to do was to fix the problem, use your own sauce, free, tomato sauce,
Yeah.
and it fixed the problem. And the funniest thing was that this is the other piece of research that came out with it is that understanding that you could put the price up on, let's say, a meat pie or a sausage roll and give them free sauce, but if you kept the same price for the pie but charge for the sauce less, user was really pissed off
Mm.
because they see it part of the experience that they're buying, and it's
Yeah.
like that was a really surprising insight, and it came through talking with the user base and actually looking at the market and answering the question. So the research hypothesis, why did a bunch of people just drop off buying it? Originally, they thought it was something to do with the buildings around the area are all finished up, so the tradies have moved on.
Mm.
Had nothing to do with that. It
Mm.
was literally 20 cents worth of sauce.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and it just made their brand very, very sticky after,
Yeah.
which was awesome. And then it's really going now into to understanding what I was just talking about is that really it's about the user journey. So you're talking about understanding what the journeys want to do. So for a customer wants to do in their end-to-end process. So understanding the different bits and pieces in it, scaling through the life cycle, creating those brands awareness and interest piece. So these are the bits of the surprise and delight, those pain and gain factors, and also being able to test and validate in the future and start again. So it's not a one-off like waterfalls project. It's the idea is that you start at one point, you finish, and then you reiterate. So it's a constant improvement and understanding what outcomes you want to drive. So the big one I talk about a lot is behavioral outcomes. So
Yeah.
and behavioral drivers. So if you change something in a business, a UX process effectively understands either you're going to get a change of behavior, it's going to be the same, or it's going to be decreasing. So it's one of three outcomes that a business will see if they add something different or change something.
Yeah.
So positive, negative, or no change. And
Mm.
that's where we de-risk that for businesses. And the smallest changes can make the biggest difference. And that's why it's really important to understand this.
Yeah.
Um, and then you're probably asking next, why are we actually doing all this? So if you think about it, UX is just not the one thing, it's a beast of things. So it goes from everything from your user stories and brainstorming, user journeys, your service design. So understanding what those things are to actually high fidelity designs, understanding the typography, styles, libraries, mood boards, all that sort of fun stuff. And also post launch, which a lot of companies forget about is those success metrics. So working out if you put, if you've just put a new website in, how do you know it's successful? A lot of people don't understand that, and it's really surprising because they will spend, 50 to $100,000 on a website, launch it into the wild, and then 12 months later you go, how successful it was, and the usual answer is, oh, we got so many impressions, and it's like that's not really a success metric. Well, how did that actually convert into sales?
Mm.
What is the user doing on there? Have you got better is it increased sales? Is it decreased sales? Is it doing the same as the website? Because a lot of the time, they redesign a website, does exactly the same as it did, 5 years ago.
Yeah. Just
Um,
better.
it just looks a lot better. It's a lot exactly. It's like because a lot of them, when it's looking at UX, what I found out of working there for 20 years, people look at the detailed design. So
Mm.
it's those wireframes, annotations, really pretty images, but they rarely convert.
Yeah.
And I've worked on so many projects where it's like that, where you simply understand what the user's doing. And like I worked on an online gift store about 10 years ago. Our financial target for it was just on $100,000 for the Christmas period. And the first year we hit $540,000 worth of sales because we worked out what a secret sauce on it was.
Yeah.
That you could get a Christmas gift 3 days before Christmas delivered to the person. So it was all those people who forgot. We targeted them and we basically made 50% of the sales in the last week
Yeah.
because we had the right tempo for it and we were
Yeah.
putting it on the right, you know, places where people would find it. So yeah, it's one of those things. It's like we looked at the whole thing,
Yeah.
not just the detailed design.
I think that's what I love about UX design and how that really fits into business. It's like I see it as the essential part of the business ecosystem because of the fact that it's using science, it's using technology, but it's also using psychology. Um,
Yeah.
because together, all those those elements are really, really powerful. But one without the other, it just doesn't have the same. It just doesn't have the same power. And yeah, and then of course it all comes back to de-risking it, which means it's going to be more successful, it'll make you more money, and then give you a platform to be able to launch your next products or your next service or your next, project, which is super exciting because that's all we want. We want you to be successful. We want you to have exactly the goal that you had in mind. We want to bring that into fruition. So it's just such an important part of the process.
Oh, absolutely. And the way that I look at it and UX design now is far different to what I would have looked at it 10, 15 years ago. There were certain things that I thought, oh, they're great. But after studying psychology and philosophy, I've changed that very differently. And I think with UX process, it's more like a phenomenology process. So this is in um, a philosophical concept about you're looking at your customer. Each one of them has a very subjective experience, and it's putting labels and understanding what they're doing at each point. So it's looking at the ontology of it, the epistemic values, and also the axiology of it. So you're looking at like three different parts, but what the outcome is really understanding the what a person's doing, why they're doing it, and those behavioral drivers, and putting kind of groupings around it. So a lot of it is around those value sort of statements. So the most successful projects I've worked on are the ones that have stopped a development process where it sounds a bit counterfactual, but launching a new product is usually pretty expensive. And many times that you go through the research, and the research from qualitative and quantitative point of view brings up a very different answer to the business. So I like to think it in Jungian terms like the third answer. So there's kind of what I want, what maybe a business wants, what other people want. But what it does is when you look at all that research, it comes out with giving you that clarity, which I don't think a lot of people actually think of. And it gives you another better option that you're probably not really aware of. Um, and that's bringing the customer into the business and then basically telling you, this is what I want to do and why. Um, yeah. So again, good, good UX is basically making something that's feasible and delightful and something that you can actually deliver on. Um, because like from a design point of view, I can design anything you want. I can design any sort of website or app that you want. Whether or not that's going to be successful or not, that's going to come out of the research. And that's why UX is really about understanding those behaviors and neurotypes and where they're kind of going and it's giving you the clarity and it's like a cost benefit analysis for your users.
Yeah.
So a lot of people will put P&L statements in, but they won't do it with their customer base. And I always just find it really kind of crazy that you can invest so much in something and not actually validate. And we're not talking about hard stuff here. You're talking about talking to a half a dozen people. You get a cluster of behavior, and then you can retest that against peer-reviewed research, Google Analytics, and a whole heap of other things. And really, what we're talking about is investment. So I love the IBM's one is basic the 1 to 100 ratio. So every dollar that you invest in UX and design returns up to $100 and 50% increase on A/B testing. So split testing a concept, you can basically save yourself a whole heap of stress, find out what the problem is before you even, start committing to something. So these have tangible concepts for a brand. They actually have, very tangible outcomes. So it's not just saying, let's just design it and talk
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
kind of what you were saying in the other sessions as well. It's
Yeah.
really just it is a tangible thing like an accountancy department, like having redundancy on technology within a business. It
Yeah.
just adds that amount of clarity. And it's really about we include the business and the customer. So you're looking at two sides of it. So, we're getting the proper validation and it's about risk and cost.
Yeah.
So that's probably the big insights that you you get out of it. And it's amazing doing a service design piece, how you can journey map something out and you can work out where the problem is. So I often look at it like service and journey mapping is like a plumber trying to work out where a leak is in a pipe.
Yeah.
A lot of the times when you map that out, and this is not hard, you can literally do this today. Get a packet of post-its, a couple of texters, type out each stage and put it up onto the wall, the beginning to end, how a customer's getting to your brand and what's happening inside it and after and any problems. And you can find out where the leaky button buckets are. It's something that is not something that always needs the, the level of specialization. It just means a lot of the time it's just understanding that end-to-end journey, which businesses don't, well, a lot of the time they think they do, but when you actually test it and put it on paper, it's not always the case.
Yeah. And I suppose we, just like in that story about the source, we have ways of rationalizing why something's not happening based on what's happening around us. Because, we are all different. We all think in different ways. We operate in different ways. We're driven by different things. So, yeah, like it can be very easy to sort of go into these stories of why things are happening. But yeah, like going through the scientific process like UX is it just takes out that ambiguity. And yeah, because as I said, it's like it's so easy to build a story based on what you think it is, but the way that you think is clearly not the way that everybody thinks. And they have those different influences because of so many different things. So
Oh no, no, you're right. And part of it, the part of it, what you've kind of hit on is the idea of mental models, is that not everyone has the same mental model. Um, it's really funny because you can look at the one of the best examples of mental model and attitude is with coffee. So people, so cost on coffee is fairly arbitrary. So a $4 coffee is not necessarily cheap or expensive. It depends on what the context. If you give it to some $4 coffee into in a paper cup and it's okay, it's an okay experience. Yet if it's in a cafe in a um, really nice mug, it has a very different concept of value, and that's part of the things that you bring out of those mental models is that when you look at, you know, price and all that, and one of the best examples of it I still can think of is with mental models around buying cinema tickets. So a lot of the times, if you said to someone, would you pay $50 for a ticket in the cinema? People would be like, oh no, it's too pricey. The flip side of it is if you package that into like a
Gold class.
gold class or Hoyt's Lux,
Yeah.
totally different. People are like, "Oh yeah, that was great,"
Yeah.
because it's a different experience. But in essence, like my $9 Tuesday ticket and the Lux, you're still in essence selling 2 hours in a cinema. The difference is the perception of value that you pull out of those metal modes and understanding who wants the $9 ticket and who wants that gold class and Lux ticket. You know, they're
Yeah.
very, very different behaviors, but still when you look at it from an abstraction level, they're still kind of the same. So
Yeah.
it's really easy. It's really interesting because it's like it answers those hard questions. So that when you think about it, UX is really philosophy.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's
that's so true.
yeah, it's and it kind of yeah, as we were kind of talking, it includes everything from interaction with the interface to graphical application to the overall journey. So everything from I've hit your website to me paying at the till or me repeating back, or another one is so a lot of the banks you can see them giving $100 for getting customers.
Yeah.
So their
To sign
service
up.
model, yeah, so their service model are based upon the fact that it's very, very expensive to actually get new customers. Why don't you get the really happy customers who like it? Do it for you. It's a hell of a lot cheaper.
Yeah.
Um, and it's still based upon the service model. So it's because the ones that work with those models really well, they understand those journey flows, which is, you know, huge. And you probably the next step in this is probably a lot of text for this page, but it's something really interesting. It's quite a few of the different UX tools. So we don't just use one tool to find problems. It's the best way it was explained to me was from this awesome UX lead I worked with years ago, and he goes, you know, so this is probably showing my age. 2-year-olds with VCRs. So what happens is a lot of the times a business is a little bit like a 2-year-old, where with a 2-year-old and their VCR, they would put like the tape in there and something would come up and oh, that was awesome. They go, what else can we put in? I'll put toast in there. I'll put coins in there. I'll put my
Yes.
so they've applied the same logic to the
Yeah.
VCR, and it's still very much the same thing with UX as people jump onto one tool and it doesn't get the same outcome as they want. So there's a lot of different tools, everything from IDEO to Stanford to Zerb, design, Sprint, thinking, and Google design that a good UX practitioner understands where to apply this. So a design sprint would not necessarily work as well if you're doing a corporate pivot. It's a different tool. Like IBM design thinking from what I've seen and used, it's far better for those strategic pivots. So you would not use that sort of methodology, let's say, if you're just updating a website, because it's not really going to give you the tactical switches you need. There's other ones where there's experimentation models where it's you would run one of those. If you're just trying to find something new, you've got this idea and you just want to test it really cheaply and get some ideas out. Likewise, that there's other ones that are like the IDEO design models where there's a great book on it that really looks at mental models, testing assumptions, getting those insights. So they're all very, very different practical models, but a seasoned um, UX person will understand where you can pop those in. And one of the big things I've seen from big corporate is that they all jump onto design sprints and run, and they do it for everything. And the problem is that you get a bottleneck of deliverables, so you can't end up delivering anything. And the other problem is that you're delivering something that usually a user does not want. And
Mm.
so it just becomes a big sinkhole of development costs. So all you're doing is you haven't stepped back and go, well, what do I need to deliver as an outcome? What problems are there? So you've jumped past the research and you're just doing the doing part.
Yeah,
So good UX actually should eliminate that from the start and basically give a validation and certainty. Again, it comes down to the process. I mean, at a very, very high level, these are the kind of processes we're talking about is that discovery, testing an idea, internal and external validation. So it's not just talking with customers. Another big problem. A lot of big corporates just run with it, or even a lot of the startups, they run through a specific tech stack and they realize that they can't deliver it, or it's far more expensive to deliver their idea because they didn't talk to a developer. And quite frankly, it's like if you're delivering something, talk to a dev first. They actually frame that environment of can I actually deliver this new website? Or and it also the outcome of it is it gives you a bunch of plans and designs that you can go, this is what I'm kind of doing.
yeah,
The other one as well, which is probably the big one, is the double diamond. All of them kind of fall under this site. There's kind of a lot of nuances, but when you think about it, you're answering the why, and then you're executing. So it's the understand, this is your research part, defining, so bit of negotiation with tech, business, stakeholders, working out what you're trying to do a bit of a review and understand what you can actually do, create, and explore some of the ideas, and then that gives you the deliverable that you're getting. So if you follow kind of this kind of model at a fairly high level, you're creating something very lean,
yeah,
very quickly. And the flip side is that you're getting rid of all those unknowns. So you're understanding what potentially your outcomes can be.
yeah,
Yeah, which brings me on to the X. I can't stress this one enough, and we both talk about it all the time. Understanding the problem takes longer than designing a solution.
yeah, yeah. But it's just so important because, at the end of the day, like back to the conversation about the fact that, you can think that one thing is the problem and go down that rabbit hole and then expand on that. And then only
Mhm.
to come back and find out that that wasn't that wasn't actually the issue and then have to start all over again. And that's why it's so important to really start with like a very clear understanding and plan. But then, there are businesses out there who have already been operating for the 5, 6, 10 years or what have you, and
Mm.
they were doing things that they believed worked, and they got a somewhat good result, but then it stopped working. And it's not the be all and end all, but you know, as I say, the same. If you keep well, it's the same.
Oh yeah, it's the doing the same thing and expecting a different
A different
result.
result.
Yeah,
Yes.
and that's part of the reason why when you look at kind of UX and lean process and agile process just in a general way, it's not an end-to-end process. It's that once you've ended, you start again.
Mm,
So the idea is that you're constantly feeding quality insights and quality ideas in that to basically steer the ship.
Yeah.
Where the problem is when you have you get to a hard end with a project and they just let it run.
Yeah.
That's when the problems come up because it's like you've also got to remember that there's, especially with digital, it moves so fast and there's a lot of competition.
Yes.
And what works, let's say now, 2 years from now, it may not work. And especially when you're looking, so one of the big insights that I found, and this is only a month or two ago, is that SEO in its current form is very much dying because it's more flipped into now AEO, which is those answer engine optimizations.
Yeah.
So one of the behavioral shifts that people are doing is not so much works to SEO strategies anymore. So what you're seeing is that people are asking ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, all those ones for their answers. And so it means that their content is not optimized
Yeah.
for their user, and the user has changed their behavior, and the business doesn't know this.
Mm.
And they're really easy fixes too. A lot of the time it's right in active voice because AI doesn't do very well with passive voice.
Yeah.
And it's, also using high quality resources. So, and looking at the domain level. So it's like really simple things like that, that they're often forgetting instead of like keyword stuffing, which AI just completely ignores it, just no reason for it. It looks at the quality of the source, it looks at who the author is, it looks at your domain, and it looks at how it's actually written, the quality of it. So
Yeah.
it's something that has significantly changed user behavior, but people are just not aware of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and it comes back to like kind of what we said before. A lot of it's around just, combining data and user validation to give a big user edge. So part of it is really understanding what they're doing. So everything from, Google Analytics, and then um, to talking to your users, going out, putting a survey. One of the easiest things to do is just ask your customer. Most of the time, they're more than happy to give you feedback. And
Yeah.
a lot of the time, it's so gold that it's going to it costs nothing for it, and it's going to give you the recipe for success.
Yeah.
Yeah. And consideration two, solving the problems. I love this as well. This is one of my favorite information pieces. Is like everyone just looks at Google data and goes, it's up and down, but it's not as simple as that. You've got to process it. Most companies I've worked with they collect the data, they have a big data pool, but they don't process it, they don't collate it, they don't create stories around it, and they don't validate it against users. So it's about, and this is where, when you're talking about the analysis and production around bitting all those together, what you're getting is a story that you can project into the future and understand why they're doing it. So if
Yeah.
I'm only working in data, I can't project that. All I'm getting is the raw facts and figures. So all I'm getting is 100,000 people of PIs on this site for a day. I'm not actually understanding who or why they are, and a lot of the you get a lot of uncomfortable thinking out of it. So especially like if you find a lot of it's bot traffic,
Yeah.
um, or it's just not the type of user that you want.
Yeah. Or that you thought was your user. Like,
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. It's the question is that what's better to have 1,000 users willing to give you $1 or 100 users willing to give you $10,000.
yeah.
It's really aligning that information and that data narrative, if you will,
Yeah.
from conversion. And again, just falls under certainty. So these are two tools that I use a lot. Um, Again, with the data, um, let that do the story for you. So it's
Yeah.
really about certainty. So do you want to do something easy and far to certainty, or do you want to close? close and easy to do. A lot of the times, what happens is as projects go on, it's far from agreement and also far from certainty. So it's really hard to do. So you just don't deliver anything.
Yeah.
So what UX does, answer those questions, and it means that on the chart on the right, you can basically prioritize them all. It's the coolest thing ever. It's like, okay, that's easy to do. We all agree for it. We can do that today. There's other things as well that are really difficult, that have complexities that you can put on the back burner. And this actually gives you that level of priority that comes with a really good, um, UX process, because what we're doing is we're understanding the problem, understanding what outcomes we want, understanding the technical limitations or any other limitations, understanding the risk profile attached to it, and just pulling it on from there.
Yeah.
So it's yeah, I just love these two charts so much.
Yeah.
They just saved so much heartache over the last
Yeah.
20 years.
Yeah. Especially when you've got when when you get, I suppose, into that decision fatigue, you know that you're essentially on a sinking ship and you got to do stuff, like you have to do something and you got to make drastic measures. People can really feel compelled to just do, like whatever they think is going to give them the most money, but they don't really evaluate, well, you know, how much you're actually realistically going to get out of that versus how much you have to spend to get that. How long will it take? How easy is it to achieve that? Like, and are there steps that need to happen before that? So it just makes it so much more easy to plan out.
Yeah, you're right, and it's exactly you just kind of jumped ahead with me with you read my mind. Just with a lot of the UX stats. So 97% of of websites fail at UX. It's crazy. Absolutely crazy. So you're thinking of, if you're building a website, there's a 97% chance that you're not going to get anything out of it. And the best way to reduce that risk is go talk to users and put in a usability um, process. It's not expensive to do and not hard to do. So even Nielsen states that you don't need to get really elaborate with it. Talk to five customers,
Yeah,
and chances are you'll be able to fix the problem.
yeah,
And the other one as well, and this is where digital mediums are really, really hard, is that if someone can't do what they want, they quit, and then they jump onto the Google or the Yahoo, and then they'll search, and then they're not coming back to your brand again.
yeah,
So it's like, if your site's not doing what they want to do, it will fail and it will cost you a lot of money for it. And then we're just talking about lost customers, so that failure of conversion.
yeah,
So it's like a customer is simply puts it all as, if they think your experience is shit, they think you don't care, and they also think you don't need their business.
yeah,
And they'll just find it and give it to someone who will. So
yeah,
that's why it's like hugely important to actually go talk out to it. And it's saving you those hemorrhaging of those bounces on the brand. And it's not just digital. It's
yeah,
crazy. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, and it just comes to, really, the most important thing is not making a iPod 2 or an AI boom. It's really understanding those learnings about what a user business tech can do and breaking down a lot of those silos, which that's what good research does, breaks down a lot of those problems. And when you think about it, which coffee would you like?
mhm,
It makes it far more desirable.
yeah,
I always love this slide, because it's like coffee is one of those things that's fairly universal, yet people kind of, um, it's about the experience with the coffee, and a nice cafe, nice mug has and the
little
cafe
chocolate on the
art.
side.
Yeah, yeah, it's like makes a huge difference.
Yeah,
And you don't think of like you'd think in the styrofoam thing, you're thinking exactly cost. You're like, the servo $3 special. It's like I'm not going any higher than that.
Yeah.
With the other one, you're probably not thinking of it, and you're probably going to have a second or third one,
Yeah. Yeah.
especially with your friends. It's understanding that experience, and that's what allows you to articulate that. Because when you think about it, both of the coffees the same. It's certain shot, certain amount of millimeters of liquid in there, milk and sugar, but it's how you actually wrap and understand those journeys to get to each point, which is the
Yeah.
difference. Not saying that one is lesser or more, it's just saying that they're very, very different.
Yeah.
And really it falls down to it's around strategic and practical direction. And it's connecting what you're trying to do with who you're trying to sell it to.
Yeah.
Um, and, reducing that risk is freaking amazing, especially when you see it in the bottom line, where you can launch a new website and you're not looking at impressions, you're looking at dollar values and and, convertible metrics, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was all of it, I thought. So any
Yeah.
Q&A?
Yeah. So that was amazing. I think just given that we have gone over time, that's ended up we might just let people email through the Q&As
Yeah.
today so that we can all sort of let everyone go and enjoy their Friday afternoon. But it gives us something to talk about for the next session. Um, and yeah, no, that was really good and exciting. So I'm really interested to share our findings now from this client that we're getting started with in terms of all of the research that we're going to start with them, and the discovery to get them to where they want to be. So thank you so much, Seamus. Always so insightful talking to
Oh,
you.
thanks.
So let's